my name's Moosa Benneth. I'm Australian. I'm originally from Adelaide, South Australia. I've been over here in Perth, living here for the last 20 years. I've been a Muslim for 24 years. I actually embraced Islam in a place called Port Hedland, which is up in the northwest of Australia, mining town. That's where I first was introduced to Islam. I was working with Muslims. I was brought up Catholic, Christian, but from very young I used to ask a lot of questions to the priests, and I wasn't getting the answers which I felt were well, what I believed. And through that I sort of went away from the Christian faith. I didn't really follow anything. I always believed there was some higher power, but I didn't know what. I actually never heard of Islam before I actually went to Port Hedland. So for 20 years of my life I didn't really know anything about Islam. When I was in Port Hedland and working with these Muslim brothers, they're originally from Christmas Island, Cocos Island, and they didn't have very good English. They didn't really explain to me much about Islam. I just knew they didn't drink alcohol and they used to fast occasionally. As I got to know them better, eventually they gave me some books to read, and a lot of the books, when I went through them, made a lot of sense to me. All the religions say that they got the right path, and a lot of the religions that I had mixed with, from Hinduism through to the different Christian sects, I could see were definitely not on the right path. So when I started finding out about Islam, everything sort of fell into place. Answered all the questions that I wanted to know, nothing hidden, and therefore I decided I wanted to accept Islam. Before I embraced Islam, well, my father died when I was young, and I was raised by my mother, and she had a bit of a hard time with me. I sort of fell in with the wrong crowds. I was roaming the streets when I was early teens, in gangs and things. Very heavily into alcohol and crime, and from there progressed to fairly bad influences, getting in a lot of trouble. But at the same time, I always had a feeling of getting back to nature. So even though I was born in the city, I used to spend a lot of time going into the country. Some of my interests were hunting. I enjoyed hunting, fishing, diving, and through going out into the bush, into the forests, spending a lot of nights out there, looking up at the stars. I used to ask the question, why am I here? Where does all this end to? How does this all come to be? So that, I suppose, influenced me to think that there's more to life than just enjoyment and getting drunk and drugs and whatnot. It took a little bit of time, it took time, but alhamdulillah, over time I achieved giving everything up and practicing Islam as full as I could, to my knowledge. Well, what happened, I embraced Islam in Port Hedland, and then I decided to go back to Adelaide, where I come from. My wife and I went back there, and even though I knew this religion was right, I fell into the old ways again. As soon as I start mixing with my old friends, I try and tell them about Islam, and they were very, oh, well, that's good, good on you. Come on, let's go and party, So after a year or so in Adelaide, I thought, well, I could see that I wouldn't be able to practice Islam correctly by hanging around old friends. I had to make a clean break. So my wife and I decided that we would pack up and we would go over to Perth, where we knew that there was a reasonably big community of Muslims compared to Adelaide at that time. I did have a couple of friends who did embrace Islam. One friend who was a neighbour, lived down the road. He could see the change in us, actually. No more drinking, no more drugs. And it also appealed to him. He came over to Perth and wanted to find out more about Islam, and we actually give him dawah, and he also embraced Islam. And then alhamdulillah, my mother also embraced Islam. So in my family now there's only one sister who hasn't embraced Islam, but inshallah we're still working on her. It was mainly breaking and enterings, gang fighting, and dealing drugs and stuff like that, weapons and things. So I never really got caught for anything, alhamdulillah. A lot of my friends did do a lot of time in prison. As soon as I embraced Islam, then I started learning about drugs, and I could see how wrong it was. And I decided no, I wouldn't have anything to do with it. And alhamdulillah, I mean, before I got married, I did have money through drugs, and alhamdulillah, Allah took it all off me through other means. So I ended up with nothing, and then I started from scratch. Yeah, I did feel bad sometimes. Some of the things I'd done, I felt bad that I'd done it, you know. But of course, I still went and done it. Sometimes, you know, because I was, you know, affected by drugs and alcohol, you do things that you wouldn't normally do. I mean, you know, like when I was drinking, I was always in trouble, always getting in fights and things. And I'd do some stupid things. Since I don't drink alcohol, I don't do those things anymore. So the alcohol was a big influence in that type of thing. And that sort of kills your conscience a bit. Well, when I first, of course, embraced Islam and I was just learning, yeah, I suppose I had that conflict where I'd still slip back into what I was doing. But, yeah, more I started getting knowledge of Islam, then the more I knew it was wrong, the easier it was not to do it. The fear of Allah, the punishment, and this, you know, helped me to stop doing those type of things. I never really believed in the God that they worship, and that what they said, you know, that therefore I never really listened to them, you know. Just the way Christianity was, I found that I just couldn't listen to them. I just wouldn't listen to them. Yeah, back then when I was, you know, doing these things, these crimes and behaving badly, of course I had a fear of getting caught by the police. Everyone has that. But you also think in your mind that you will do things so that you won't get caught. You have that possibility of getting caught, but that's a small possibility. So difference is, once you know about Allah and that He knows everything, He sees everything, then it makes you realise that no matter what you do,